Good evening. Hope you are taking care of the. Hope you're all good, doing good over the lockdown period. I'm really happy to come to the talk to you, connect with you during this time. We'll be shortly starting the lecture as people are joining in. I hope that the previous talks was interesting, and if that was, kindly let us know. We'd be happy to relate to you and talk to you more about it. You can send in your informations. We'll be happy to relate to you on these topics. If you have some questions, then you need to key in your information while the talk is on. So at the end of it, then we could do it without much infrastructure. All our equipments are in the office. Staying at home, we are trying to relate to you. So kindly bear with us that we don't have much of a chessboard or anything, but we'll be starting the topic shortly. In the past days, we have been looking at chess improves cognitive process. In the cognitive processes, because chess improves the cognitive process, it has an improvement in the cognitive skills, cognition. When we say that, then we say that chess improves intelligence as well as creativity and also social intelligence. In our previous talk, we saw how chess improves intelligence. We also saw how chess improves creativity in children. We also, in our previous talk, saw how chess improves the processing speed. Now we come to a very interesting stage that when we are trying to measure intelligence, we find the perceptual reasoning, the working memory, the processing speed, and the verbal comprehension. These are the 4 factors that impact intelligence. So one of the factors, very important factor that improve cognitive skills is working memory. What then is the working memory? The working memory is the ability to actively maintain certain information. I repeat, working memory is the ability to actively maintain certain information in conscious awareness, perform some operation or manipulation, and produce a result. So, having certain information in the mind, we pull more information from other sources of already in the mind and then come out with a solution, give a result. So working memory is extremely important for verbal acquisition. Research has shown that working memory improves reading skills. Working memory improves numerical ability. Working memory is important for mathematics. Working memory is important for academics. So working memory can be compared to the RAM in the system, in the computer system. You are all aware there are 2 types of memory, the short-term memory and the long-term memory. This working memory is it's something like a short-term memory. It is like a RAM. Some information is kept for a moment. It pulls down a lot of information from the knowledge that you already have or patterns that you already seen, and then produces a result. So when a chess player looks at a chessboard, he gathers information, or sometimes somebody tells him, a coach tells him, look at this position. So the verbal comprehension enters. And he looks at the board. He sees how things are happening. He looks at the 64 squares. He gathers information. As we saw yesterday, synthesis happens, gathering happens. He understands various positions that's there. And then he looks at ways of manipulating this. Have I seen this structure before? Have I seen this pattern before earlier? As I told you earlier, the chess players write their moves and go through it again. So this is metacognitive skills. So when they will look at it, have I played this line before? Or somebody else has played these games. So from the database, which they've already seen, there are various structures. There are various tactical principles. We call that as a pin, fork, line clearance, double check, discover check, a smothered mate, a back rank mate. So many other factors. These are all particular patterns of tactics. So a child, when he learns to play chess, he looks for tactical blows. He sees whether such patterns have arisen before, whether such structure in the pattern has happened earlier, whether he can use the previous knowledge. That's one thing. So they manipulate, they juggle with that information, constantly keeping that mind in that, and they're juggling with that information and produce a result. So the capacity to hold information. How much information can you hold it? Sometimes when you use computer hangs because the working memory, the RAM the capacity is less. So when you load a lot of information, it will simply hang. Sometimes you may be talking to your child and the child will not talk. He'll be just listening to you. Then you will ask him, hey, are you listening? Do you listen what I'm saying? He's just thinking, because the loading of information at that particular point of time is so much that he's still processing. So that is where the processing speed comes in. You gather the information, you are manipulating certain information on the mind. And while that information is being processed, so the ability of the processing speed comes in. How fast can you take it? And then they come out with the result. They perceive things, they hear things, they work on the information, and then they come out with the result on how the whole process comes in. So the four factors are very important: the verbal comprehension, the perceptual reasoning, the working memory, and the processing speed. All these make us intelligent move. So as chess players, how do this working memory operates in a chess player? When we look at a particular position, we call that as tree method of thinking. What are the possibilities at a given situation? So these are called as candidate moves. You may have numerous moves in a certain position, but you will first select a few moves and then keep it on your mind. You will not start evaluating every move. So what is the various possible, just like a doctor would look at a particular position, what can be the possible thing? We would look at a particular position and see what are the moves possible in this particular given situation. And we start taking one by one and look at it and see what will happen to this particular tree, particular stem, this particular way, one of these 5 areas, one of these 5 candidate moves, and then store that information in the mind. Then we go to the next one, then we go to the next one, and all these 3-4 moves, candidate moves, are analyzed, evaluated, and that information is stored based, something like a game theory happens. And then we say, okay, possibly this is better, this particular move is better than the other moves. So the ability to choose the candidate moves in a given position is extremely important. The ability to evaluate. Sometimes chess players look at 20 moves ahead, not in every position. If it's an end game, if it's just a king and pawn ending, they can keep thinking because it's pretty logical. I make this and he makes that. I make this and he makes this. So you can go on in certain position. That's fine. The depth is about 20 moves in a line, and then say, okay, this is happening. But in a middle game position, you might have expected something, but something else may happen. So what we do is we look at, if you're sacrificing a piece, what are the possible moves? And then we calculate each line of variations. So many lines of variation comes in. the ability to choose the right variations, the ability to gather the right signals. In a world that we are living, so many people talk, so much of information are going around, but the ability to gather the right information makes it extremely important for the working memory. So as we play chess, we as we let children play chess, they inculcate the ability to maintain certain information actively in their minds, perform certain operations, and produce a result. How do we calculate the working memory? How do we measure this working memory? There's something called as Whistler's Intelligence, WISC for India, scale for children, Whistler's Intelligence scale for children, WISC for India. Now, that measures the working memory of any child. So, in that there are two subsets, digit span and letter digit sequencing. So, this measures the child's ability, the working memory of a particular child. So, we have done a research where we studied the working memory of a particular child before the chess training, and then trained him for a year, and then measured the working memory of the child. And then we had another group also, another year also. So one group was control and one group was experimental. Then we analyzed in the end of the first year, there was a 11-point increase in the working memory. So higher increase was coming in the first year of learning, and the second year of learning as well. There was significant improvement, statistically significant improvement in the working memory of children when they play chess. Okay, so Vinod Gopal comes in with the information, like we were saying that Alexander Kotov trained like a grandmaster, or possibly I would say like that's a good book, and it also, there's another book called Play Like a Grandmaster, Think Like a Grandmaster. This is where they look at how to get this tree method of thinking. How do you choose the candidate moves? These are extremely important information. I remember one of my nephews wanted to become an engineer. Somehow he didn't look at the opportunity of becoming a doctor. But today he's a doctor. He's working in CMC. So what we try to understand is other alternatives. Sometimes we think of this and then we want to lose it. But again, when we rework it, that's most important. So I agree with Vinod that, it's very, very important, that ability to evaluate, that ability to think on various things are important. Yeah. Any questions on the working memory and how chess improves the working memory? If it's there, you can tell me. Then you can just type in your statement. And somebody is asking about Whistler's scale of intelligence. Yes, it's available. You can measure the intelligence of a child between the age of 6 to 16. 6 to 16, at the end of a test, about an hour's test, you can see the intelligence of the child. You can check the working memory of a child, the perceptual reasoning. You will have the clear scores on that. And we generally do that testing. For a child before they learn chess, and after doing this WISC-4 test, the cognitive assessments, then we measure it. So in the DST study that we did, we had taken about 100 children in the control and 100 children in the experimental, and then we tested this working memory and then gave chess intervention. Amazing results were seen. In how chess makes a difference in the working memory of children. Just to recap what we have been saying, chess improves cognitive process, chess improves the cognition, and while it improves the cognition, it has an impact on verbal comprehension, which we shall see shortly in the days to come. We saw that chess makes a difference in the processing speed, it makes a difference in the perceptual reasoning, and it also makes a difference in the so creativity. And does it have a transfer in the academics, scholastic performance? Does these cognitive training has a lasting effect? Yes, it does. We find if you do a 12-hour session, it doesn't make a difference. If you're doing a 25-hour session, there is a transfer. And it was amazing to see that people, the cognitive psychologists, scientists across the world are feeling it requires at least a 25 hours of training to have a transfer, a lasting impact, to sustain the change that it has happened. There's a question coming in. I want to know, how can we assess, from Sarah Samuel, working memory of a person? Could you suggest me some cognitive assessment methods to be tried on an individual? As I was saying, that WISC for India, WISC for Westlers Intelligent School of Scale of Children for India is for children between 6 and 16. WISC is also available for adults. So these two tests are available. There's one more question. Okay, like my professor, Dr. Edwin Prabhakaran, who was my professor in the PhD thesis, he just says it reminds me of the Viva where we saw that. Yes, I'm grateful to Dr. Veena Iswaradas and Dr. Edwin and our doctoral committee who were with me studying for 4 years how chess makes an impact on the cognitive skills. And more than 25 papers have been presented across the world. And if you would send in, if somebody wants to see the journals, I would send you the links. I hope you're enjoying these sessions. Chess definitely seems to be having an impact on the working memory of children, and this has a lasting impact in the academic performance and a day-to-day life. Not only for children, this working memory is very important for every adult. So chess is one of the cognitive games. Somebody asked me yesterday, there's other games. I do not know about other games. I've been playing chess from the age of 5. But I know one thing, the chess does make a difference in the working memory of children. Thank you. If you like it, share it. If you like it, please come every day. Come every day at 9:30, just 15-20 minutes, and be happy to connect with you and to talk with you. And you can continue to interact with me over WhatsApp, mail, and we will see how these talks go on. We're trying to improve the infrastructure. Happy and glad to be with you. Thank you and bye.